The Carolina Panthers are entering the 2025 season with cautious optimism, but one area of their roster continues to raise eyebrows among analysts and fans alike: the safety position. With a roster that currently includes Nick Scott, Trayvon Moehrig, Demani Richardson, and Lathan Ransom, it appears Carolina is content to roll with what they have. Whether that confidence is based on legitimate potential or necessity born from limited options remains to be seen. As it stands, the Panthers haven't made a splash at safety in free agency, and with training camp looming, it's increasingly unlikely that they intend to bring in someone like Julian Blackmon or Justin Simmons. While those names have been floated around, Carolina's front office hasn't made any real moves, and by this stage in the offseason, actions speak louder than speculation. It's not unusual for teams to show patience, waiting until injuries force a hand or younger players either shine or falter under pressure, but many believe the Panthers may be playing with fire. One analyst who believes Carolina should act now is Anthony Palacios from Last Word on Sports. Rather than merely dipping into the dwindling free agent pool, Palacios proposed a bold, attention-grabbing move. The Panthers should trade for Pittsburgh Steelers star free safety Minkah Fitzpatrick. On the surface, it sounds like a fantasy football proposition. After all, Fitzpatrick has been one of the premier defensive backs in the NFL for nearly a decade, a three-time Pro Bowler and former All-Pro who has anchored Pittsburgh's secondary through thick and thin. But this idea is more grounded than it may seem. A recent contract extension for Deshaun Elliott, another safety in Pittsburgh, could signal a philosophical shift for the Steelers, one that potentially makes Fitzpatrick expendable. Elliott's deal is significant not just in monetary terms but in symbolic ones. He's a younger player the team has invested in, and it's possible that Pittsburgh, dealing with cap constraints and shifting priorities, may be preparing for a gradual transition in the defensive backfield. Trading Fitzpatrick wouldn't be an easy decision, nor would it come cheap. But if the Steelers are looking to reshape their roster or acquire assets for a future post-Aaron Rodgers era, such a deal isn't entirely out of the question. For Carolina, the appeal is obvious. While Nick Scott brings experience and Moehrig flashes playmaking potential, the unit as a whole lacks star power and consistent leadership from the back end. The Panthers were among the bottom-tier pass defenses last season, struggling with missed assignments, breakdowns in communication, and an inability to force turnovers at key moments. Those issues aren't solely about talent, they're about identity. And Minkah Fitzpatrick brings an identity with him. He's known league-wide as a ballhawk with elite football IQ, capable of reading offenses pre-snap and reacting in real time with speed and precision. Even if he's no longer the absolute best in the game, his resume speaks volumes: multiple Pro Bowl nods, an All-Pro selection, and the respect of quarterbacks who often prefer to throw away from his side of the field. The drop-off from All-Pro to Pro Bowl level still leaves you with a top-tier safety, and for a team like Carolina, that's a substantial upgrade. More importantly, Fitzpatrick could serve as a catalyst, not just for the secondary, but for the entire defense. His presence would allow others to play more aggressively, knowing that someone of his caliber is backing them up. Moehrig, still growing into his role, could benefit from playing alongside a mentor who's walked the walk at the highest levels. J.C. Horn, already a budding star at cornerback, would no longer be the lone focal point in coverage schemes. Together, with Mike Jackson locking down the other side, Carolina could field a far more formidable secondary than the one that limped through last season. Palacios, in his analysis, didn't mince words. He wrote that Carolina needs to keep pushing forward with roster improvements if they want to compete in a rapidly evolving NFC South. And he's right. With the Tampa Bay Buccaneers reloading behind a resurgent Baker Mayfield, the New Orleans Saints stabilizing under Derek Carr, and the Atlanta Falcons adding weapons across the board, the Panthers cannot afford to remain static. They shocked many last season with a brief playoff appearance and encouraging development from rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels. But standing still is the fastest way to fall behind. The price for Fitzpatrick would undoubtedly be steep. Even if Pittsburgh were open to discussions, they would likely ask for a day 1 or high day 2 draft pick, perhaps along with a young player to sweeten the deal. Carolina, still building its roster, might balk at the idea of parting with future capital. But this is where the debate shifts from financials to philosophy. If the Panthers genuinely believe they can make noise in 2025, not just sneak into the playoffs, but perhaps win a division or more, then acquiring a player like Fitzpatrick aligns perfectly with that vision. He's a plug-and-play leader. No learning curve. No question marks. He comes in and changes the tone of the defense on day one. There's also a cultural element worth considering. Carolina has been through coaching changes, quarterback drama, and years of underachievement. Fitzpatrick represents stability and credibility. He's a no-nonsense pro, someone who commands respect in the locker room and leads by example. For a young team with so many new pieces, that kind of veteran presence could be as valuable as any stat sheet. And make no mistake, Fitzpatrick can still produce. While he hasn't made an All-Pro team since 2022, he's been selected to the Pro Bowl for 3 consecutive years, and that consistency speaks volumes. He may not be racking up highlight reel interceptions every week, but he's still breaking up passes, closing gaps, and helping his defense stay organized. He's also avoided major injuries, a critical component when considering trades for veteran players. The counterargument, of course, is that the Panthers could simply sign a cheaper option from free agency. Julian Blackmon, for example, is still available, as is Justin Simmons. Both are capable safeties with starting experience and less expensive price tags. But neither possesses the impact of Fitzpatrick. They're short-term fixes. Fitzpatrick could be a foundational player for years to come. Another factor that might push Carolina toward considering a trade is the overall landscape of the NFC. With the Eagles and 49ers expected to dominate the top of the conference again, the teams behind them, like the Panthers, are fighting for wildcard slots and upward momentum. In a crowded field, every playmaker counts. Having someone who can flip the field with a single interception or make a game-saving tackle on third down can be the difference between 10 wins and 7. Carolina's front office has shown a willingness to make bold moves in the past. Trading up for a quarterback. Investing heavily in young defensive talent. Bringing in aggressive coaches with progressive schemes. A Fitzpatrick trade would be the next logical step in an evolving strategy, one that prioritizes competitiveness now rather than waiting indefinitely for the perfect rebuild. It's unclear whether Pittsburgh would truly entertain the idea. But if they feel Deshaun Elliott is ready to take the reins, and if they value the flexibility that comes from draft picks and cap space, Fitzpatrick could be made available under the right circumstances. And if that happens, Carolina should be among the first teams on the phone. As training camp approaches, time is running out for the Panthers to shore up their roster. Injuries happen. Depth gets tested. Surprises, both good and bad, inevitably arise. But one thing is clear, entering the season with uncertainty at safety is a risk that could undo all the progress they've made. Adding Minkah Fitzpatrick wouldn't just patch a hole. It would plant a flag. It would announce that the Panthers are serious about contending, not just dreaming of it. And in a league where fortunes turn quickly, boldness often gets rewarded. If Carolina truly wants to scare opponents in 2025, it starts with locking down the back end. And there may be no better player to do that than Minkah Fitzpatrick.